Welcome back to You Decide, the show where we discuss the biggest talking points in football, but you guys ultimately decide using the poll cards, which are up after each round of questioning. We're going to have 4 questions that we're going to go through this week. Me and Flav are here. Flav, you lost last week.
I did.
3-1.
Bullshit.
0-1, which is good.
I thought I was good.
You were great, mate, but not good enough. If you want to check out that one, do that after this show. Watch this one first and make sure you get your votes in and decide who's right on each talking point. We'll have 40 seconds each to talk about each one. When those 40 seconds are up, you will hear this noise. High quality. Thank you, intern.
No expenses spared.
Adam. Let's get straight into it. First one, Man City. What a win that was against Barcelona. But are Man City fans getting a little bit carried away? Flav, you're first up. 40 seconds on the clock. Off you go.
Absolutely not. They're not getting carried away. To beat the probably consistently the best team over the last 4 or 5 years, with a front line of Neymar, Messi and Suarez, to beat them at their own game at any level on a football pitch is an incredible feat. It shows the possibilities within Guardiola's Man City team. They're on a blip and they've been struggling recently, but I think we just saw what Man City are capable of, and the way they beat Barcelona, high pressure, forcing them into mistakes.
Man City fans, I think, are getting a little bit carried away, and the reason is that people are saying that this is a defining moment beating Barcelona. It's a great moment, and Man City fans should enjoy it for all that it's worth, because Barcelona are a very, very good side, but it's not a defining moment. A defining moment is beating QPR on the last day. The reason that's a defining moment and this one isn't is because that means you won something when you beat QPR. You won the league in doing that. This, at the end of the season, if you go out in the quarterfinals to Paris Saint-Germain or someone like that, it means absolutely nothing. Guardiola is a great manager. He's doing very, very well, but it's a work in process. A bit like that sound right now. They're not there yet, and they've had a blip in the league. Didn't win a game for 6 games in total. Yes, they're playing good stuff, but for me, this isn't the best Barcelona.
I hate that sound already. I'm not sure. I get what you're saying about the win against QPR last game of the season. That they won something there, but this is a marketer showing where Guardiola's going to go. This is essentially the Man City that we're going to see in 6 months' time regularly.
No doubt. I think they will win the league. I think they will win the league, and I think they'll win it quite convincingly. But so
why shouldn't they be excited then?
But I'm saying you've got to keep calm, is what I'm saying. This is not a good Barcelona team.
What?
It's not.
And not a good Barcelona team. They've got the best free forwards in the world.
The team they played on Tuesday night was not a decent side, especially at the back. And they had players missing as well. You got Sergi Roberto, who is a decent player for them, but he's someone who's been moved around.
Brought in to replace Dani Alves. So he kind of...
Is he as good as Dani Alves?
No, of course not.
Well,
but he's their starting right back.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, they also had players missing. You've got PK missing, you've got Jordi Alba, which is a crucial part of how they attack. And if they've got the ball and they're attacking well and scoring goals, that changes the whole momentum of a game.
I'm not having this. I'm not having the argument that this weak Barcelona team shouldn't be celebrated because they had a few players missing. They still had Suarez, Neymar.
Iniesta missing as well.
They still had Suarez, Neymar and Messi. And they restricted them to 1 goal.
Man City fans, should they be getting carried away after beating Barcelona in the fashion that they did on Tuesday night in the Champions League? It's your turn to vote. Do that right now using the I, isn't it? The little I. Click on that and decide if they should be getting carried away with a result like this or if they need to calm the fuck down. Jack Wilshere has completed 2 full games for Bournemouth. But does that mean that he should stay at Bournemouth and end his Arsenal career? I'm going to go first this time. 40 seconds on the clock. Let's go. Jack Wilshere should go back to Arsenal. The Bournemouth move, the whole reason for this was for him to get first team football because the Arsenal team is littered with great midfield players, but he's also a great midfield player. He needs to go to Bournemouth, play loads of games, be an important part of a team as well, but then he does need to go back to Arsenal. I think a lot of people will go, oh, there's Jack Rodwell, there's Scott Sinclair, players who went to big clubs and then weren't up to it. But this is Jack Wilshere. He's played 100 games for Arsenal already. We know he's a great player. He's just struggled with injuries and he needs to put that to one side and play a load of games. And he's doing that at Bournemouth. But if he goes back to Arsenal, it's a shortcut to success. It's a shortcut to getting back into the...
Jack Wilshere should not return to Arsenal. It's been proven over the last 8 or 9 years that it's the wrong club for him, the wrong setup. They're obviously not taking care of him. He's had some issues that are probably not to do with football as well. I think success in football is as much about the environment that surrounds you as your skills as a footballer. He's found in Eddie Howe a coach that trusts him. Has played him two games, 90 minutes, first time in ages. He is, as much as it pains me to say, a quality footballer who is suddenly getting game time. He's now a big fish in a small pond, which is probably what he needs. I think we have, in Bournemouth, they have a very special midfielder there, and I don't think returning to Arsenal is going to help him at all.
Good timing there. Don't you think it's slightly... If Jack Wilshere is this player that we were all hoping was going to be incredible, he's a player who went to the Euros, and a lot of people were saying that, some people were saying that was the wrong move because he hadn't played enough football, but the talent of him meant that if he is fit, then you should take him. If he doesn't go back to Arsenal, is that just giving up on a player with massive potential? And in himself, in Jack Wilshere himself, is he being a bit of a wimp there?
I don't know. I don't care where he goes to England or not. I think that he's the proof is what's happened so far. He's gone to Bournemouth. He's playing football. He's showing his class. There's no issue. There's no point in going back to Arsenal, other than the fact that his love for the football club. He's obviously a big Arsenal fan. That might drive him back there. But in terms of professionally and logically thinking, what should I do for the best of my career? You're playing football now. You're not going to walk into what is probably the best midfield in the country currently. If he goes back in January or at the end of the season, he's proven his fitness by playing the whole game, but he's better off in playing football. All footballers are better off playing football, and he's playing football now.
But long term, surely he needs to kind of stick with it. If he's a player, like, he was seen as one of those guys that could be world class for us. You saw him against Barcelona right when he was starting. He was getting in the Arsenal team when he's a 19-year-old.
Why can't he do all the things at Bournemouth or any other club other than Arsenal? What value is in returning to Arsenal, James?
The value in him returning to Arsenal is playing with better players, playing in the Champions League, England.
Is he going to play though?
Well, I think we'll never find out if he doesn't go back and give it a go.
No, we've had 8 or 9 years of evidence.
Because he's not been fit.
And suddenly he leaves the club, magically becomes fit. Do you think maybe the problem is Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, that rather than in a club where he's now been treated properly in terms of his injuries and respected as the footballer he is and playing? It's illogical to go back to Arsenal. The only thing that will bring him back there is the love of the football club, and making decisions based on love and emotion is a foolish thing in football. Which
is the exact reason why Jack Wilshere should go back to Arsenal, for the love and emotion of it, because he is an Arsenal fan. And I think if I was Jack Wilshere, I'd regret it if I didn't go and give it a go.
So, should Jack Wilshere return to Arsenal or pursue a career elsewhere? Let us know in the top left-hand corner. Click the eye and vote now.
Stick with Arsenal and Arsenal's midfield. Mesut Ozil is in great form and a huge reason why they haven't lost a game in 15. But is he the most talented player in the Premier League, Flav?
In current form, Ozil probably is the most talented player, certainly in midfield. He is, by and large, mostly a class above. It's really difficult for me to say. Stop laughing, I'm trying to do my 40 seconds. He is a quality player, taking partisanship away. You saw the goal against Ludogorets. There's very few players in the Premier League that can do that. There's an argument for De Bruyne and maybe Hazard, but by and large, Ozil is a very good, if not the best footballer in the Premier League. His performances really are going to speak more than anything.
It was pleased that you.
So hard.
Pleased
Thank
that
God
the
that's fucking over. The thing, yeah. Fucking hell.
Bizarrely, I think Mesut Ozil is not the most talented player in the Premier League, and you didn't even say him in your 40 seconds, but I think Dimitri Payet is the most talented player in the Premier League. The reason that he probably doesn't get put above Ozil is, I guess, numbers and consistency in terms of the length of his career, hear me out, but in terms of talent, we're talking talent here. Who is a more talented player? Dimitri Payet is probably one of the most talented players I have ever seen in the Premier League, but he's playing for a team in West Ham where they have decent players, but they don't have other players who are going to dominate a game, and he drags them through a lot of games last season, and this season, first 5 games, obviously lost a lot of games, but when he came in, he was still doing what too long every time.
You could just have white noise over everything that I say for this next 2-minute segment, and there's no chance you're going to win this section of the argument.
The key word here is talent. Who is a more talented footballer?
I think
Forget the numbers.
there's something in your argument.
Forget the numbers.
There's something in your argument about him playing in a football team that suits his style and Payet having to kind of drag West Ham along. There is something there, but it's not Ozil's fault that he plays in this league. Not Ozil's fault that he plays with Wenger in such an attacking team. He provides a number of assists for a kind of a forward that you'd expect a player of Ozil's quality to be playing with a better forward than Giroud, or I do rate Giroud.
Giroud scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, he does. But imagine if he had Benzema or Aguero in front of him, they'd be unstoppable.
Or Griezmann. How did he get on for France in the Euros? Payet again dragged a team that was struggling in a couple of games. Certainly that opening game they were losing, and he took it upon himself to go and change the game himself. He does have end product. He gets, I think, sometimes let down by the players around him at West Ham, and that's why all Ozil's numbers are in this discussion are void, because Payet, in terms of talent and the talent around him, he is having to do stuff on his own, whereas Ozil has a incredibly well-oiled machine in Arsenal, dominating games, creating chances, both for him and for the players around him.
You know in the Premier League how difficult it is to score goals, how to break teams down.
I haven't actually played in the Premier League.
Well, you watch it. You know, it's not easy to do what Ozil does, and he does it consistently. I don't even think I don't need to sing his praises. I'm not going to do that because it's painful for me to say anyway. Okay. People are going to vote Ozil because it's the obvious thing to say. Payet's a great player, but he's nowhere near Ozil's class.
I'm the underdog in this one, so I'm going to have the final word for this one. All fans of teams outside the top 6, or whatever it's called, this is our opportunity to win a vote. Payet, and you've had a player in your team who has dragged you, who's much better than people give him credit for, but they don't get the credit they deserve because they don't play for Arsenal or for Man United. Payet is that kind of player, and he is the most talented player in the Premier League. So is Mesut Ozil the most talented midfielder in the Premier League, and is he more talented than Payet? Get your vote in right now using the little eye, click on that. If there's anyone else that you think is more talented than those two, then let us know in the comments below. And the last talking point this week, there's 10 games gone already. The Premier League season, it's gone so quick, hasn't it, Flav? But who has been the biggest surprise out of the Premier League so far? 40 seconds on the clock. Do you want to go first? Should I go first?
I'll go first. Man United have been the biggest surprise. At the beginning of the season, I predicted that they would win the league. I thought Jose Mourinho had a blip at Chelsea, but actually, you've seen at Man United that maybe he's the problem. They spent untold amounts of money on Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba's agent at 21 million his fees cost more than Gundogan, and Ibrahimovic has been insipid. It's just been a really kind of pathetic, sorry season so far for Man United, and it made me look foolish because I thought they were going to win the league. So for that reason, the most disappointing aspect of the Premier League season is Man United and Jose Mourinho.
The biggest surprise after 10 games of the Premier League season for me is Watford, 7th in the Premier League, above Man United. I think this is an incredible story. A lot of Watford fans don't think they've actually been playing that well yet, but what they have been doing very well, which is very important, having a decent season. And don't get it wrong, a decent season for Watford is still staying up, especially with the amount of change that they've had, and bringing in the new manager who doesn't even speak the language. Then they've still won 5 games, I think it is. They've beaten Man United 3-1. They've looked good, they've looked solid. And although Watford fans aren't too happy with the style of play, that 3-5-2 and still utilising the long balls that they did last year has worked very, very well for them. And they've got a lot of players. God, stop doing that. Where does it go? Where does the time go?
I don't know. I think the fact that you said that it was a great result for Watford to beat Man United 3-1 should kind of pretty much give me the vote here, because Man United were supposed to be beating Watford, have lost. Yeah. Surely that's the bigger surprise. It's just the amount of money and expectation about United. They're just, it's not so much their points on the board, because they're still in a position where they can mount the title challenge if they turn it around, but it's just the way they've been playing. Just boring, dull football.
But I guess it's all permutations. You never know how a team's going to do. But last week on You Decide, you were saying how bad Mourinho is as a manager now. And so if that is true, then how big a surprise is it that Man United are doing so bad?
Just because I didn't expect him to be as bad as he was. I think it's a big surprise that he wasn't as he's performed so poorly given the amount of money and resources he had. And I wasn't aware that he'd lost touch with football, but I think it's evident that he has, and that's a big surprise to me.
I think for Watford, the fact that I tell you what, do your fancy football team? Who are the players? I bet so many people got Capoue as their cheap one on the side.
Yeah.
Deeney as a cheaper forward. You're hoping he might do something, but a lot of guys will be in your subs bench. Those guys aren't names. They aren't players that people were expected to do well. Pereira as well is a really talented footballer, and those. But we didn't know that they would be able to gel together. And so far, after 10 games, for them to be where they are in the league, and if you look at the teams and the money that they've spent beneath them, I think it shows that Watford have a very good recruitment policy.
So they're consistently Watford have actually have performed against adversity. Really, they lose managers, they replace them, they've bought in. You know, I'm kind of agreeing with you here, but they kind of bought in players that you wouldn't. It's a gamble, and they're paying off.
And the other crucial thing, when you get to about 10 games, you have played a couple of the big guys, you have played a couple of the smaller teams. What Watford have done well by being a very physical side is they're winning those games against Hull, against the lesser sides, which is gonna allow them to have another decent mid-table season, which for me was a huge surprise.
I think both our arguments are fair. It's just what's the more surprising.
I agree with that, Flav. I like you as a person as well. I don't want to argue with you every week, but it's just a bit of fun.
I'll be interested to see what the audience think.
Nice, Flav. Nice little link there. So get your votes in. What's been a bigger surprise, Watford or Man United? Let us know using the I. Make sure you subscribe to Bull Street. It's a good channel. We're on it a lot. And let us know your thoughts on everything. We'll be on the comments for the first 2 hours of the video. So come and have a chat. Until next time, goodbye.